Ashley. I'm the Director of Materials Management for Judicial. And under my purview falls purchasing or procurement, which covers all of the contracting for the judicial branch. So I'm going to start today's session. I think you're seeing the screen right now. You're seeing today's agenda. Before we go to introductions, I'll start with a few housekeeping. It looks like everyone's done it, but I think it's always best to have microphones off because we can have some background noise. And looks like I said, we've done that. Also, as you've seen, we are recording today's presentation. So we wanted to have that available for the future. So be aware of that as well. Introduction. So again, Dawn Ashley from Purchasing Services. And with me, I have a few members of my team today. I have Alex Gillette. She is our Deputy Director in Purchasing. And I also have joining us Pamela Sarno, a name for some of the providers you're probably quite familiar with. She is handling juvenile contracting for our office these days. Also online are several people from Court Support Services Division. So Kathy, I'll turn it over to you for your introductions.
Okay, welcome everyone. I'm Kathy Foley-Geib. I'm the Director of Juvenile Residential Services here at CSSD, and I look forward to this meeting today. Thank you.
Anyone else from CSSD want to? Go ahead.
Thanks, Dawn. I'll jump in. So good morning, everybody. I'm Gary Roberge. I work here in the branch in CSSD. And I just want to thank everybody for hopping on the call this morning and having the conversation with us around the work that we're doing in our Secure Regions program and our efforts to operate a second Secure Regions facility somewhere in the state. And I think most people on the screen know that we have been at it for a while, trying to get a second location outside of our residential centers, because we currently have 2 units still in Hartford and Bridgeport doing this work. But thank you for your time today. And I also just want to thank Community Partners in Action while I'm on the screen. They've been operating the one in Hamden for us since we opened that up 3 or 4 years ago. And in my opinion, they're doing an outstanding job. I think we have a great partnership. I think you're going to hear about that today, and hoping that somebody else on the screen here from the provider network will be interested in taking on this work with us as well as we try to establish a second program. And I just want to also thank my team here, Kathy and Juvenile Residential Services and Julie Ravaz and our whole folks on the programming and contracting side of the business that we're doing. They do an outstanding job. And I just want to thank them for the work that they've done. I'll be just going to close by saying we've had a lot of different external stakeholders take the time to come into our Hamden program in the last 6 to 8 months. And I think across the board, anybody who's been through the program thinks very highly of what we're doing there in Hamden, of the work we're doing with the kids, and just the commitment of the CPA staff and the branch staff that have developed that program, the work that's going on there. So, if at any point anybody is interested in taking a look at it themselves, please reach out to us. We'll see if we can make that happen if you think that'll be beneficial to you. But there's just a lot of good work going on, and we're hoping that we can establish a second program, like I said. So thanks to my team and Dawn, your team, for putting this together today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Julie, I guess, for an introduction.
Thank you, Gary.
Hello, Julie Ravaz. I'm Director of Administration at CSSD. I have a number of members of my team. I'm sure you're all interested in getting to the content of today's presentation. So I think maybe rather than having us all introduce ourselves, we'll go to the content, but know that there's a whole bunch of people here from CSSD eager to support the future of Region Secure.
Thank you, Julie. Beth, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself and others?
Sure. Thank you, Dawn. So I'll do the same as Julie. I'm Beth Hines. I'm the Executive Director for Community Partners in Action, and we operate the Hampden Secure Regions program and also a Staff Secure Regions program in Hartford. And I'm joined here today with my team. Deborah Gala is our Director of Operations, and Keisha Henry is our Program Operations Director for our Juvenile Services. So she oversees both the Hampden and Hartford programs. So thanks for having us here today. We appreciate it.
Great. Thank you, Beth. So, Kathy, you want to switch slides? Great. Thank you very much. We'll start by saying, as I did in the beginning, this is an effort to really share information about where we were, where we are today, and where we're hoping to head. And I certainly hope you see that by having this meeting inclusive of CPA as our sole regions provider, it's just indicative of the partnership that we have and that we're committed to. So as we've progressed along the way, we did our first RFP for a regions program. I think we did that back in 2018. And since then, we have gone through and we've issued 6 separate RFPs to try to bring about additional programs. Some were successful, thus having CPA here today, others not. So, but through that process, we've in various RFP processes, we've learned from those, and we try to learn with each one. So we've made some changes, and this screen just kind of highlights some of the changes that we've made along the way. We're listening to feedback. In fact, we've even, as it indicates, had a session back in 2019 to hear provider feedback, to make changes as recommended or suggested, and we've incorporated and highlighted some here today. So our standard RFP timeline is somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks, where we allow providers to submit a proposal to us for a program. You can see here we've learned from that. We recognize the difficulty of putting together a proposal for a program of this magnitude. And I think our last RFP was on the street, what we call allowing time to respond for 5 months. And in fact, I think we did an additional extension up to 6 months. So recognizing it takes time to find a site and write a proposal. We've also provided some additional guidance and shown our commitment to partner with the provider that we select. And in doing that, we've added things like, and maybe Kathy or others will speak to it, but staff plans, recommended salaries, things that really help a provider submit a proposal and have an idea of what to come to the table with. We've also tried to get additional information on potential locations, hearing loud and clear that locations are difficult and it's a difficult program to cite in the state. So we've added some information related to that. We've also indicated a startup period whereby that partnership we speak about is really laid out. We have, I think the last bid we issued was an 18-month period where Juvenile Residential Services and the provider work together to get that program up and running. And that's the offer and the commitment that we're making to the provider. So we've added a lot of information to our RFP to assist in that manner. And again, a very planned approach to our startup, that partnership we talked about, even before opening, assistance in getting a location ready. That's a piece of this and has been identified in our RFP. Shared potential locations. Again, we've done three separate solicitations for space in the state, reaching out to providers, reaching out to landlords, realtors, anyone who might be willing to offer up space for this program. That allows us to vet those locations, visit those sites to see if they're worthwhile, and if such, we'll provide that information to our providers. That would be a piece of your RFP, to have some identified locations that you could potentially pursue for a program. We've also altered and increased the contract term. So we had an original contract term of 3 years with 2 extensions. We've now made some adjustments so that we have that maximum term to be 7 years. And then once we've made a selection, our commitment, my office commitment is to offer ongoing procurement support. One of the things that we've seen, I think, through CPA is the need to do significant renovations to properties, right? So we can find a site, but that site's not ready to go. And working on construction, renovation, RFPs, that is something that my team, myself as well, have offered assistance to, will continue to offer assistance to. We do this here in our office, so there is a requirement to conform to state statutes related to construction and renovation costs. So we've been able to assist with that. Also supplier assistance, because it's not just the renovation, right? It's large amounts of equipment and furniture, and we can help with that. We can help with the supplier assistance and with all of that bidding along the way. And maybe Beth or someone will speak about that later. Again, a partnership from our office and the procurement end to get a program up and running, and certainly a partnership from CSSD and the juvenile residential staff. So those are just some of the highlighted changes that we've made. Obviously open to hearing more feedback. That's what today is about. And we look forward to making additional changes that we think we can make to improve the outcome of future solicitations.
Okay. Thank you, Dawn. So now I'm going to talk about the Regions program itself. Just give a very broad overview of what the treatment model looks like, where we are today with it, and just provide a little bit of insight in terms of how it operates. So currently, though, we only have one contracted secure Regions program. We do have several programs within the state. So we have 3 hardware secure, right? Hampden, provided by CPA, is one of those locations. But we also have a program in both of our state residential centers, one in Bridgeport and one in Hartford. We have 2 limited secure programs, and what limited secure means is that though the front door is locked, the youth can go out into the community as part of their treatment plan. So, they do have access to, community activities, employment, volunteer opportunities, things of that nature. But it's all built into their clinical program. And then we also have 2 staff secure programs for boys, one in Hartford, as CPA had said, they're running that, and then one in Waterbury that is contracted with CJR. In terms of the goals for Regions, it's really threefold, right? One is to reduce risk to recidivate. One is to increase the well-being and pro-social skills to meet a best life goal. And the youth define what their best life goal is, and we support them through the use of dialectical behavior therapy and meeting that goal. And then the third is to facilitate a successful return to the community. So we do provide community support to help that transition. We have reintegration mentors who follow the youth for up to 12 months post-discharge, so that they're there to help them day to day in terms of navigating back into the community. In terms of treatment model itself, Regions is very structured. Initially, when the judicial branch had gotten this responsibility in July of 2018, we didn't have a treatment model in place. And so we've built one over time, but I think at this point, it's very well defined. It's very structured, and essentially consists of 4 main components. One is dialectical behavior therapy. That provides support not only on the milieu, but also clinically with the clinician, provides individual work as well as family treatment. The second is positive youth development, really thinking about the youth as adolescents, teenagers, and what it is that developmental stage requires. What are their challenges, helping them figure out what their strengths are, or their interests are, teaching them life skills, providing them leadership opportunities. So really helping them develop into young adults who have a direction in life, who are building up their skills, and are really getting onto the path that's going to lead them to success. The third is looking at the risk reduction and risk need responsivity model. And really targeting those areas that are putting the child or the youth most at risk for recidivating and trying to reduce that risk in each of those targeted interventions. And then lastly is individual treatment and discharge plans. So each youth is seen as an individual. They have their own issues, strengths, challenges, and the team works with them as an individual to try to target what is going to help them the most and help them clarify for themselves what it is that they want to achieve. So it's not one size fit all, even though it's a structured and modeled, it's very much tailored to each youth. We do have a team approach in region. So we have a multidisciplinary team, which includes obviously the youth and their family, the youth attorney, probation, the staff who are working with the youth every day, their clinician, education provider, healthcare, reintegration mentor, recreation staff, community partners. So it's really a team approach, and that team meets at least once a month to work with the youth around what their treatment plan is, what their goals are for that month, how they're doing, what additional supports that they may need. And it's when the team has consensus that the youth has met their treatment goals, that's when the youth is going to be working towards discharge and reintegration into the community. Okay, in terms of support within the facility, within the program, we hire staff that are representative of the clients that they serve, who can serve as role models and mentors. We hire people who like working with teenagers, who appreciate that developmental stage and want to support youth in growing into successful young adults. We have a very low staff to client ratio. One of the most successful ways for us to support the youth in their day-to-day behavior and working through their responsibilities is keeping the ratio very low so that they have a lot of support. Their education provider is at each program. Some providers provide it themselves. Some subcontract for an education provider, but they're all staffed by highly qualified and special ed certified teachers. They do have to meet all state and federal regulations and statutes related to education. So there's very much a focus on getting the youth up to grade level if they're not already there, recovering credits, getting them on the track to graduate. If they have graduated, then getting them on track either for some sort of post-secondary education or vocational training program. We do have licensed mental health clinicians and psychiatry time. So each child's needs and issues can be identified and managed. If there is the need for any kind of psychotropic meds due to depression or anxiety, ADHD, then those are readily available. Obviously have pediatrician and nurses on staff, and then we have recreation specialists as well. So it's really looking at the child holistically and making sure that we're meeting each of their needs. We're committed to a family partnership as the client defines their family. And so they are integral parts of the team. There are family sessions and treatment integrated into each individual treatment plan in a way that makes sense for that particular child and their family. And they work on those issues with their clinician. For discharge purposes, we do have access to multi-systemic family therapy, a version of it which is called family integrated treatment, or emerging adults, depending on the specific needs of a child. That may be an appropriate option for them. We have either a reintegration mentor or credible messenger who's going to work with the child once they've returned into the community. So they have that ongoing support to make sure they're getting to school, that they're are pursuing vocational interests or working or doing internships, engaging in pro-social activities, really structuring their time and connecting them to things that are going to help make them successful. We also do family surveys through our performance-based standards program. And most recently, this past July, we've been able to include family support specialists in the contracted programs, meaning that there is a staff who's specifically there to, one, provide family support to the parents, advocacy, case management support, whatever it is that the family needs, and also to serve essentially as the voice for the family within the program, right? So they're part of the team of staff who are running the program. They're there to represent the family voice and make sure that policies and procedures are family friendly and supportive. In terms of education providers, each program is going to have a different provider, again, either through a subcontract or through their own organization. These are the current providers in our programs. But again, looking at small student ratios, if there's special education needs, making sure those IEPs are being implemented, or if they haven't been identified and should be, having PPTs to make that happen, and very much a focus on credit recovery and diploma and transition planning. There's a variety of vocational services that are available. The options may vary by program. Some programs, unfortunately, don't have a lot of space, so they can't do a lot of hands-on work, such as Hartford and Bridgeport in our state centers. But you'll see later in this presentation that Hampden has a lot of space and is able to provide quite a variety of vocational services. Okay. This is just some pictures of, this is Bridgeport Regions. Because they don't have space for hands-on work, what they are able to provide is certificate programs that can be done in a classroom basis. So this is pictures of a Safe Serve exam on the left. And then the youth who have passed that exam and are Safe Serve certified are then here supporting the Ice Cream Social and serving to the youth using all the information that they've learned through that exam process. Okay. Again, we try to provide work opportunities, leadership opportunities. So staff are very creative in what we can provide inside, especially in the state centers where we don't have a lot of space. But again, this occurs in the other programs as well, but really trying to make opportunities where they can, one, practice, resume writing and interviewing, but also take responsibility for some sort of activity or job that's going to help support the unit overall and be of service to others. We try to provide a variety of enrichment activities. Here, obviously, basketball game, right? But we try to make the environment fun, playful, try to provide access to a variety of things that kids can explore and see where their strengths and interests are, see where they can develop skills, and, really work with the youth to figure out what they're most interested in and bringing that into the program. Okay. We try to teach them alternative ways of relaxing and coping with life and experiencing new things. So here we have the boys in Bridgeport who are having a spa day, really taking an opportunity to relax and, put some of this knowledge that they've gained through yoga or Tai Chi, mindfulness exercises, and then really thinking about individually, what do kids like to do? Some kids really like puzzles, some like coloring, some like reading. So really trying to figure out for each kid, what are those additional things that are going to be helpful to them for coping and also just structuring their time. Okay. Again, Regions has reentry services, right? So either the reintegration mentors or credible messengers. Each youth is leaving with a reentry wallet, which includes a variety of information, but certainly at a minimum, state ID, template resumes, job applications, getting their social security card, birth certificate, where possible, supporting them in getting their driver's permit. So really trying to set them up for success. Okay. And then just lastly, Regions is continually evolving and improving. And so some of the things that, we're working towards right now are DBT adherence and certification for our programs. We're continuously working on the data collection reporting capacity here at CSSD. Most recently, DCF has taken over administrative oversight of educational services, and they provide pupil service specialists who help transition the youth back into their school in the community. We recently had an evaluation done by an independent group called Developmental Services Group. And they were very much impressed with the region's model, with the region's providers. And, you know, the initial outcome evaluation has shown very promising results. So we're hopeful that good work will continue. And over time, as our data collection builds up, right, we'll be able to start reporting on various outcomes. Okay. Lastly, or the last two things are we recently opened a transitional living program in Wethersfield. So for boys who return home or to their community isn't in their best interest, they're old enough to launch into independent living, we do have a transitional program to help them on that course. And then lastly, we're trying to bring reintegration mentors and family support specialists to our programs in Bridgeport and Hartford. We're hoping to be able to do that this summer. We have an RFP that recently closed. And, you know, it would be, you know, we're looking to get that up and running so that each program has the equitable same complement of services. Okay. So overall, that's Regions. Now I'm going to pass it over to CPA, to Beth Hines, and she'll lead the review of their experience working with us.
Thanks, Kathy. Just want to reiterate what both Dawn and Kathy said in terms of this being a partnership. It absolutely feels like a partnership to CPA since the very beginning, from, you know, signing the contract to trying to get the renovations to the facility done, to hiring staff, to opening, and then, you know, operating. It's been it's a really challenging experience operating the Regions programs, but when you have the support from CSSD, it does make it, you know, it does make it easier. And so in terms of our experience, I did want to just, you know, talk about the, you know, the fact that there are times when things happen in the program that are extremely challenging. But there's also times that happen in the program that are really rewarding, which is, you know, really what keeps CPA engaged in the business is the success stories of the youth. And so I wanted to just very briefly read to you a recent success story that we had. This is a young man who discharged from our Regions program back in June. Prior to discharging, he earned his high school diploma with the assistance of our educational provider. The reintegration mentors helped him secure employment at Dairy Queen and a volunteer opportunity at an animal shelter where he developed a strong love for animals. He also earned his ServSafe certificate, first aid, CPR. Also, while in the program, the family support specialist was able to use flex funds to help his mom pay for a hotel stay for a week due to housing instability. CPA was then able to help with a security deposit for permanent housing, while the flex funds were used to pay for 2 months' rent. The collaboration between CSSD and CPA provided support to this family and youth to create a positive and successful outcome. And so this is just really one success story, but with every success story, there are challenges as well. And so just wanted to let you know that while challenges happen, we have access to juvenile residential services whenever necessary. Talia Nunez, she's on the meeting today. She's our first point of contact. She's always responsive. She's always supportive. When she needs further guidance, she goes to Kathy, and Kathy has been incredibly responsive as well. There's been times when situations have happened where we've all needed to jump on a meeting like as soon as possible, and it happens. In terms of the scope of this project, it's a huge scope. You know, it's really important, for example, that you have a solid infrastructure in terms of your fiscal office, because you will be managing a budget of upwards of, you know, $7 to $8 million for a program like this. We actually had to hire additional fiscal staff when we brought on the Hampdens and the Hartford Regions programs. And so what while you're operating a program, your administrative office is significantly impacted as well. And it's important for you to be prepared. Human resources, your HR department is also going to be significantly involved in this project, especially at the front end where you're hiring upwards of 50 to 60 staff. We actually did this initial staff hiring for Hampden Regions during COVID. So you can imagine how challenging that was. But the other thing that's something to prepare for is that there's turnover at the program. You know, it's something you really need to expect as a provider, to plan for it. What's very helpful for us is we have developed a pool of per diem staff for both Hartford and Hampden, which helps us to keep overtime costs down. And so that's really helpful when there is turnover or staff are out for some reason. I did want to talk a little bit about the staff salaries. When we first opened the Hampden Regions programs, the salaries were, they were different. They were lower than what they currently are. And CSSD and CPA realized rather quickly that we needed to invest more in the salaries to be able to find more qualified staff and staff who would stay, right? Because with the constant churn and turnover, that's not good for the kids. You really want staff stability, staff who are committed to the youth, and so the way to do that really is to pay for that skill set. In terms of safety and security systems, you know, that's front and center. Obviously, that's one of the main things that we are responsible for, is to keep our kids safe while they're with us. And so we've worked really closely, as Dawn talked about, you know, in terms of purchasing. You know, CPA had never really undertaken such a significant endeavor in terms of the renovations to this building. And so, you know, our CFO, as talented as she is, you know, writing scopes of work was new, and the purchasing department at the judicial branch was so helpful in terms of, you know, reviewing our scopes, providing input, guiding us through the process, and even to the point of actually, you know, awarding the bids, because these bids were, you know, upwards of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so it was really important that we got the bid process right. In terms of property management, one thing I would encourage providers to do if they respond to an RFP for Region Secure is include a property management company. It is just an ongoing daily task of building upkeep in facilities like this. It's also really important that the facility is, you know, very clean and sanitary. And so having that, we didn't have the property management company from day one. In fact, that just came on board within the last year or so, and it's been so helpful. And then it also allows staff to focus on the kids and not having to, you know, worry about, you know, fixing certain things that are breaking in the program. Central office staff, I kind of mentioned that already in terms of our CPA's administrative team, just, you know, making sure that as you know, contemplate going into this, that you know that you have the infrastructure you need to support this. And also knowing that you may need to add to that infrastructure as you continue to operate the program. Things are going to happen. It's the nature of the program. There's really no way around this. Things that will happen will be impactful. They will be significant. They're going to need attention from agency leadership. It's important to plan accordingly in terms of your infrastructure regarding this. There, unfortunately, and you know, restraints do happen. They are infrequent, thankfully, but when they do happen, you know, there's a lot that goes into managing that restraint, looking at the restraint, making sure we did it properly. You know, if there is any issues, you know, reaching out to Talia and Kathy for guidance. So that's really important as well. In terms of our partnerships for both of our regions programs, we are extremely lucky that we partner with ACES. They are our educational provider. They've been instrumental to the success in of our youth in both Hampden and Hartford. We've seen many youth graduate while they've been with us. The credit recovery, which Kathy talked about earlier, ACES is a pro at that. In terms of healthcare, we have WellPath. Behavioral health is provided to us by Yale. Those are the clinicians that we work with. We've been working with Yale for longer than we have with WellPath, but both relationships are very positive. If there is turnover, Yale and WellPath have been very responsive to the needs of the program. We're able to jump on a monthly call with Gary and his team where we can have conversations about what's going on in Hampden, what's working, what do we need to focus on, where are some of the gaps, and that has been really helpful as well. In terms of vocational training, we're going to show you some really great pictures of what goes on in Hampden and also some enrichment experiences. But that has been a significant component for our youth. Whenever we have our tours, it's just great watching them, navigate all these great vocational opportunities. And ACES, our educational provider, has been really helpful, making sure that for the vocational opportunities that we have for the youth, that we have instructors that come in and are able to, show the youth how to work the simulators. We have a barber that comes in, we have a culinary expert. And so we're very fortunate in that respect. Kathy mentioned the enrichment experiences that go on in the state detention centers. They also occur in our regions programs. So we are always bringing in things that will expose the youth to experiences that they may not have participated in the past. The rehabilitation therapists that we have in the program are responsible for those activities. And so the kids have gone snow tubing, they have had salsa dancing lessons, they make bracelets, they make beautiful bracelets with these beads. And so lots of great things do go on. Also financial literacy for the youth at the programs. So I am going to turn this over to Keisha Henry. She's going to walk you through some of the next slides, which are photos of our regions program in Hampden. So Keisha.
Hi, thank you very much. And just to say that the partnership, I can honestly say with CSSD has been a great partnership with us and very helpful. And I really do appreciate that if I pick up the phone, a call and ask a question, they're always very responsive. So just to go over the pictures, this is just a picture of an activity they did for supporting Black History Month, where all the kids did education and they posted on the walls in the education wing, but it was one of the activities that they participated in. Just talking about how I had a dream and what they could do. This is the pictures of our hallway towards their bedroom in the education wing as well. Throughout the hallways, they have different motivational like little motivational quotes and just different activities that the boys actually work on themselves. So the one on the far right where the different quotes are, those are little circles, but they have different quotes that the boys wrote themselves and they decorated the hallways with it, which was really nice to see because they're all positive things to encourage them and to let them know that there's positive things that they can say and just look at it every day, daily affirmations for them. Next slide. So the one on the left is their group room where they do a lot of their DBT groups. Any type of restorative justice circles, boys council. They usually do those activities during the day, throughout the day around school, and that is where they spend their group time. The other side is our phase 2, as you see. They have a mural with movies, that is their day room area, which the boys also helped artists that we brought in. They helped to create that design and they helped to paint those walls, which they all enjoy doing as well. Over here is the vocational side. Great thing. So we have simulator rooms where this is a picture of our forklift simulator. The boys they have a backhoe on their forklift. They really enjoy that piece because it gives them experience of how to actually move equipment around in a warehouse. So if you ever get a chance to come to Hampden, I think that one of the best things there are the simulator machines that we have. On the far right, we also have a barbershop. It's a fully equipped barbershop, just like one that you would go on outside. We have an instructor that comes in and teaches them barbering. They have an they have a book component that gives them hours, but they also cut hair. So they actually have practice cutting hair on themselves, on each other. And, there are some staff that they'll sit there and they will also cut hair there. So they really enjoy that piece as well. And it gives them hours towards becoming a barber. We've had some kids that have had internships in actual barbershops in their community, because we do partner with local barbershops, and the boys have gone there after they've been discharged and continue their work in this area. This far one on the left is another simulator that we have, but this is our truck driving simulator. So it's not on, but when it's on, you can put it on different terrains, whether it's hills, mountains, snow, and the boys really, really enjoy that one, because you're really driving the truck and learning how to drive, and it gives you that experience. You'd be surprised that, although it's not a real machine, it feels like it really is. They have the movements, the rain, the different weather conditions, and they have to be able to navigate around that. The other machine on the right is their paint simulator. So they actually paint cars, they paint houses. It depends on what an item is. We do have partnership with like Midas, where the boys can probably do internships there, because it's teaching them, like I said, how to paint different vehicles or houses and so on. Far left is both those pictures are our music studio. And as you know, the boys love to record and make music. So we have a bunch of different equipment. Besides just the recording device, we have drums, the guitar. We do have a piano as well. And this is one of the areas that they love to do. This is our culinary room. We have 4 chefs in Hampden, and one of them actually is certified to be an instructor. So they do go through that, where they get to make different meals and learning just the basics of cooking. So therefore, if they, there are some boys that have left with their ServSafe certification and have actually gone and worked in different kitchens or different restaurants. And this is just preparing them for that. So it's a great thing for them to do. They love to eat, so it's good that they learn how to cook. So a part of one of the events that we had at the program was to teach the boys etiquette. We had them dress up in suit, in a tie and dress shirts. We had a 3-course meal where they sat down and they had a great time doing it. I remember we had tablecloths that we had the staff that dressed up as servers, and they came in and the staff served everyone, took their order, and they basically sat there and ate their meals. And it was really, really enjoyable. So just taking the opportunity of doing something different that they probably never experienced doing before. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Keisha. I think Keisha, I think your presentation is complete. It's fantastic. Wow, fantastic. I think this is wonderful, and I think it really gave everyone a chance to see the work that you're doing and how this is not business as usual kind of programming here. So thank you for that. So we're at the part of the presentation where we're looking for questions from the group. So if you want to, if anyone has questions, needs more information, we have a great team here ready to answer some questions.
Hey, Dawn, this is Gary. I just want to jump in real quick and acknowledge and recognize Representative Porter and Representative Nolan. I'm not sure if Representative Delnicki made it on. I don't see that rep, but thanks for coming on today. As you know, they're very active in the JJPOC and taking the time out to participate in the call today. We just appreciate that. So thank you very much for being on and being part of the process with us here. Appreciate that.
Very good. Thank you, Gary. And to both, and to the representative, to everyone, we are recording this. So if anyone has joined late and would like to see this presentation, I'm sure we'd be able to share that afterwards. So thanks. So questions.
Please hop in with questions, folks. we're more than happy to talk about anything and everything with you. And, I think it's clear from the presentation that there's just a lot of good things going on down in Hamden in the program there and the work that CPA and the staff there are doing with the kids. And so please jump in.
Thanks.
You have a question from Representative Nolan?
Thank you, Pam.
First, good morning, and sorry I was a little late today, but from where I did pick up and see what was going on with the regions, and seeing the things that the youth are available to get experience in, I'm like jealous. I'm like sitting back there, and I'm like, what? It's just amazing that we can have a program like this, and I think my goal is going to be to try and get one down in the southeastern Connecticut area. I'm just amazed by what I just saw as far as the things that our kids are able to learn and to get an opportunity to do to make them successful. So I just want to commend everyone in regards to what was just brought before us. But I'd really be interested. I'm probably going to bother Rob and Representative Porter. I'm coming down there because I want to do a tour and see it in person.
You can bother me anytime, Rep. Nolan. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for this wonderful presentation and information, and just for allowing us to be guests this morning to hear what all is going on behind the scenes, the stuff that we don't really get to delve into in detail. I am a little biased, Hamden has got it going on, and I just want to say to Beth and Keisha and to the entire team, just thank you for what you do. And the illustration really does excite me around the prospect of another, facility like this being stood up somewhere in the state. You guys are a great model, and I hope that whoever's coming behind you is taking notes and looking to fill these shoes, because there's some pretty big shoes to fill. I did have a couple of questions. As we were going through the presentation, I'm just wondering, and this was pretty much towards the beginning of what was said, how much space will be required and how many beds are we looking to stand up for this facility, this new facility?
Kathy, you want to take that one?
Sure thing. Yep. So we would ideally like to replicate what we have in Hamden. Hamden is 16 beds. 10 beds are on what we call phase 1, or the completely secure side. So the youth do not go into the community when they're in phase 1. The other side of the building or the program is a 6-bed program that we call phase 2. And that's when the youth have graduated essentially from phase 1 into phase 2. And as part of their treatment plan, they're going to school in the community. They're going to vocational opportunities, ideally getting a job or internship experience, or doing community service, going to community activities, right? Trying to normalize their experience as much as possible and giving them opportunities in the community to use the skills that they've been learning. So, we would, if we had another 16-bed program, we'd be doing really great in terms of what the state needs. And in terms of the type of facility, Hamden itself essentially is a warehouse, right? So if there, we spec'd it out. If there is a warehouse, a commercial building somewhere that's 25,000 to 30,000 square feet, we'd be golden, because we could renovate and create whatever, we want inside of that space. But that space is large enough to be able to provide for all the needs the youth would have, right? Everything from education, vocational, bedrooms, common area, recreation areas, inside rec, outside rec, right? So we need to be able to meet all those needs. And so 25,000 to 30,000 foot space, commercial space, it would be fine. If someone is looking for that kind of space or commercial property, the agency would have to be very thoughtful about what's outside of that property, right? There'd have to be room for enough parking, right, for staff and visitors. There would have to be room for outdoor recreation space, right? Which doesn't have to be, like a football field, or even a baseball field, right? But enough space where, kids can go outside and play
Right.
basketball and, do other things, that they would do in, just outside their house, right? In terms of having
Right.
fun and playing games. So, and the kids, these boys really like cornhole. So
It's a popular game. I
Yep.
learned about it a few years ago. It's very popular. My last question is, when you talk about phase 1 and phase 2, what are the time, what is the length of stay, right, in phase 1 before you can graduate to phase 2?
Yep. So it's not time driven. It's really around, is the youth, how are they proceeding towards their treatment goals, right? So they, with their clinician and their whole team, will figure out what their treatment goals are, right? And then what are the steps that are going to help meet those goals, right? So once the youth has met those goals and phase 2 seems like the next best thing for their treatment, then they would transition over to phase 2, right? So that could be anywhere, from 6 months in phase 1 to maybe 8 months, maybe 10 months, right? It really depends on that individual.
Right.
And then going over to phase 2, again, it's not defined by time. It's really around what are their treatment goals and how are they progressing.
All right. Thank you so much for that.
Welcome.
This is Julie. I just wanted to point out, because maybe not everybody uses Teams as we do in the branch. There were 2 questions asked in the chat. Essentially, is there an RFP for Region Secure on the street at this time? And there is not. We would anticipate rebidding that service sometime later in this calendar year, but wanted to have this informational session first so that we could perhaps generate greater interest, answer some questions, even entering into that exercise. And then the second question asked in the chat was whether we would share the list of potential locations or sites. And the response to that is that that's still on the streets right now. So we're still collecting information about sites, but as they become, as that process closes and we have some options, check them off as viable, then we would certainly include that in the next solicitation for a Regions program. Thank you.
Julie. Tammy?
Hi, Julie, thanks for covering my questions in the chat, and also thank you, Catherine and Julie, for answering them at the time. I want to thank you for a couple of things. One, I think this information session is really helpful. I mean, outside of kind of a standard bidders conference, I think this is a different view. And so I appreciate the opportunity to kind of see the program outside of the, kind of the specific bid structure. I also really appreciate your efforts to hear feedback, to make changes, to, kind of make it a more attractive bid to potential providers. I'm wondering a couple of things. One, can you be any more specific about later in this calendar year around the timing of the RFP? I think that's kind of probably my primary question. I think the presentation was really comprehensive in understanding what the model is, so I feel kind of good there, but we have a calendar.
I think we were thinking about the beginning of the next fiscal year, so sometime in, summer-ish.
Summer-ish, that's great. Thank you.
And to add to that, we talked a little bit about that extended timeline to give people time to prepare and submit a proposal. And so we're looking at, once we do release something, we're really giving, last time 5 months, upwards of 6 months to gather information, and took a bit of a phased in approach. The last time could work again this time, where providers can propose a particular location that they're looking at, for us to take a look at, for us to vet before submitting a full proposal. And that was some of the feedback we got the last time, that it takes a lot, right? It takes a lot to put that proposal together. So should I invest my staff's time in that if in fact I don't have a viable location? So we took that feedback and did kind of a 2-part process in our last RFP. There's no indication that would change, but certainly we can make changes for the betterment of the process.
Tammy, did you have another comment or question? Okay. That's okay. I also wanted to invite, in addition to any questions that participants may have, feedback is also being solicited and welcome. So if you want to share, reservations that you have or what you would need, I don't know, any feedback about that we can take to heart, we're all ears.
Awfully quiet bunch this morning, huh?
We can take it. We can take it.
We can take it. That's right, Dawn. Listen, that's why we're on the screen and we're asking for the feedback, right? Because if there are areas that we have to pay attention to and address, we certainly will consider that, and we'd appreciate the feedback. Beth?
So since we don't have any questions, I thought I would share just one more story. So one of the things that's really, really critical to the success of Regions and the success of our kids is family engagement. Right. And so, because many of the kids that are with us are going to go back home to family. And so some of the work that the family support specialist does is work with the families to review the dialectical behavioral therapy skill set with the family so they can be prepared to support their child when he comes back home. And so the only way that you can really do that with the family is to make sure that you have the capacity to establish trusting relationships. Making if the family doesn't trust us, then it's going to be really difficult to make any inroads. And so I just want to share with you a quick story about a trust, how critical trust was for one of our families. And so we had a youth who was in our Hampden Regions program. We received information from detention that unfortunately his mom had not been engaged in his treatment. At this child's Hampden Regions orientation, mom stated that her son needed the treatment and that she did not need any treatment or assistance. She went on to say she didn't know why she had to attend any of the meetings when it was her son who made the decision to land him in the program. And so when her son was admitted to the program, his mom continued to be very disengaged. She sparingly attended treatment planning meetings, but nevertheless, the family support specialist was incredibly persistent, constantly trying to engage mom via phone, in person, through email. Honestly, it took months for mom to finally feel comfortable receiving assistance and support that she, in fact, needed. It took her to see how committed the Hampden staff were to her and her son and their overall success before she became engaged. She did disclose that past negative experiences with the court system which made sense as to why she had been so disengaged. And so in the end, this young man was discharged successfully from Hampden Regions, and some of the burden was lifted from his mom because with flex funds, the family support specialist was able to purchase a needed bedroom set for this young man and groceries for the home. And so this dedication and commitment of the family support specialist was really significant and instrumental to this young man's return home.
Thank you, Beth. Any other questions, comments? I'm not seeing any. Is there anything in chat, Julie?
Yes, there is. There's a question. Will the recording be available to participants?
And we can share that, I think, with the technical staff on here, which is not me. I see Alex, my deputy director, saying she's got this. Thank you, Alex. No problem. She knows my limitations.
It's really important that we get bids. So if there's anything else on your minds that's giving you any hesitation, I mean, as was said previously, we've bid this multiple times and sometimes with no response. So I'm just imploring your comments. If you have hesitation, reservations, what's that about? Can we hear it so that we have an opportunity to respond?
Julie, is there a need for a building, or is it a ground up opportunity, or are we looking for that actual 25,000 square feet already something to renovate?
I would answer this way. Certainly the with the identification of space will allow us to avail these services sooner. And so to the extent that that's possible, that seems like the most expeditious way of moving forward. But I think we're open to whatever is our best option and can work. I don't know if anybody else from the team wants to add to that.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. And I'll just say, Rep. Nolan, that, we've engaged OPM on this, DAS, and we've looked at some state buildings that are properties that are vacant right now to see if they can meet our need. And like Kathy said, if there's a vacant warehouse out there somewhere, we can certainly renovate that. We went through a major renovation down in Hamden on that site, and it came out. It's an outstanding location for us. And we could go either way on it, but there has been some discussion with OPM too about a ground up. If we can't find a site already that we can renovate and locate another program.
Thank you.
Tammy?
So I do have two questions. One is, Beth, would you be willing to host a visit to Hamden if a provider wanted to come see your site and talk to your team before the solicitation is released? Because I think we might take you up on that.
Absolutely.
All right. And also, as I bring this conversation back to a broader team at the Village, I would, in the next, is there kind of an opportunity in the next week or two, Julie, to follow up with like, actually, this is one reservation we might still have at this stage, and what is the best way to get that to you guys?
I think it'd be great. And to anyone on the meeting today, I welcome those questions coming through our office here so that we can get responses. So certainly through myself, Dawn Ashley, or my team, both Pamela Sarno and Alex Gillette. Please feel free to send comments and questions. If not today, at any point, we'll take that feedback.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tammy. Representative Port.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to go back to the possible sites that were mentioned. Now, if we're talking a vacant warehouse versus the ground up, what is estimated cost for that? And I would say if we actually are able to nail the 25 to 30,000 feet.
So we could certainly get a cost estimate on a ground up, and we've been discussing that, like I said, with OPM from their perspective. As far as renovating an existing site, I guess that would depend on what that site, where that site is at the time and how much renovation it's going to take. So we don't have any specific numbers on that, Rep. Porter, but we can certainly take a look at what we did in Hamden and what that cost us to renovate that building to get it to where it is today. And then we'll continue the conversation with Paul Hench and his crew at OPM and talking about a ground up possibility and what that would be as well.
Thank you. You went right where I was going to go. So the estimate of what Hamden was, and then OPM, if they could give you, that would be great, Gary. Thank you.
Sure. Absolutely, Rob.
And else, we'll look for responses. If you, Julie, Kathy, you're comfortable, we'll look for any feedback, questions to come in after the fact. If anyone has any closing comments, I'll turn it over to you. I certainly thank everyone for attending, that's for sure, for your interest. We are looking forward to an additional RFP process, and quite frankly, a successful one. So the way to do that is with the team here, with interest from our provider network, and us being very open and transparent, which I think you saw here today about what goes into this, but also, and I think most importantly, our partnership and our commitment. And it'll continue, that's for sure. Anyone else want to make a closing statement? Oh, I'm sorry, Representative Porter.
No worries. No closing statement. I just wanted to request really quick before we close the meeting, if you would please include me in the list to send out the recording.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and I'll just follow up again and say thanks from our perspective over here in CSSD, for the branch that appreciate everybody's time today. And we look forward to your feedback on it. And there's got to be somebody out there that wants to give CPA a run for their money and give us a little competition here. We love competition, and somebody's got to be out there. So we look forward to doing business with you in the future. And thank you for your time today. And I hope everybody has a good weekend. And thanks, Dawn, Alex, and Pam, for all of your work on this too, from our colleagues in purchasing and judicial. They're great partners and we appreciate it. So thank you, Dawn and team.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you for that.
All right.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
you. Be
Good
well.
weekend, everybody.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.